Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So today's video actually ended up very differently than what I thought it would be. But first things first, I will mention that I am getting over a cold, so if I sound really weird and I look really out of it, that's why. But yeah, we can talk about the artwork. So when I started this video, I had actually spent the day before trying to get a print ready. And I've been preparing for a convention for a little while now, and yesterday I finally set out all of the prints that I have, and I was looking at them, and this is probably feeling a lot of people who have done conventions or anything like that before. When I looked at all the stuff that I had to sell, I felt extremely underwhelmed by it. I did not think that I had high enough quality pieces. I felt like some of them were not cohesive with the look that I wanted to go with, and they weren't really meshing well with the overall aesthetic that I wanted, and I was just getting really nervous that I would feel unprepared when I got there. So yesterday I was going to sit down and I was just gonna bust out a print. It was gonna be great, and it was gonna look so good, and it's gonna have that cohesive quality, and it's gonna have the look that I wanted to match some of my newer stuff. And of course that didn't happen that way. It was not a perfect ride to the end. But I sat down and I started looking up a lot of reference, a lot of photo inspiration, and I use Pinterest for this. I mentioned this a few times, but I gather tons of ideas through Pinterest. And I sat down and I was looking at this and I was racking my brain for ideas, and I was looking at these things and trying to get them to spark ideas, and I was spending so long on it, and I was trying so hard to think of these ideas, and I was just having no ideas. Nothing was sparking anything. Nothing was making me interested in drawing, and it was so frustrating. And this is definitely a feeling I have a lot as an artist. I feel like I'm putting in my all, and I'm trying my best, and I'm putting all that I can, and I'm getting nothing back. And usually when I'm feeling that way, it's because I'm putting in the wrong type of work, or I'm focusing on the wrong type of thing. And it's all about just figuring out what I need at that moment to be able to progress and get to the goal that I want. After about a half a day of stressing out and trying to get ideas, and then feeling really nervous about how time was running out that day, I realized that that was just being extremely unproductive. It was not getting me anywhere. So I decided I just need to take that weight off my shoulders and let myself draw in a very relaxed way. Draw in a way that I like to draw. So it's been a while since I've actually digital drawn, probably since halfway through Inktober. So I hadn't really gotten back into that. So I decided I would sit down and just do some digital sketching and just relax and enjoy it and experiment with just getting back into that and drawing people and doing the things that I like. So I sat down and I started pulling up some reference from, like I said, from my Pinterest boards that I pin and I like, because that's always nice to have a lot of work that you already know you like. You like the idea, you like the pose, you like the faces. That is a great way to be able to just jump into working when you're ready to work. So I sat down, I had cleansed my thought processes to just let myself relax. And I found this reference that I had, and I'll actually link right down below where you can look at the reference that I was looking at while I was working on this. But as I was sketching, I was really loving the pose she had. And it was really subtle because it actually is kind of a neutral pose, but something about it just felt really unsettled. Like she was putting her weight in a weird way, and it looked almost just slightly uncomfortable, and it was really interesting to me. And I've also watched a few really kind of creepy and surreal movies lately that have been getting these ideas going in my head, and I wanted to portray that through her eyes by having her have these really wide, bright, glowing eyes that almost had a 1,000-yard stare look to them. So those are some of the ideas that once I stopped pressuring myself about it needing to be a perfect idea, I was able to bring those inspirations together and start sketching and getting something actually on paper, which is the first necessary step to getting anything working. You can't just have artwork in your head, and that's something that sometimes I forget. But I was really enjoying that sketch, and then I worked on another sketch that was this really beautiful photograph that I'd wanted to sketch off a little while. And then after that I started doing another one, which I don't show here, but I realized that I wanted to go back to that first one, and I decided I was just going to do the line work, and it wasn't going to be a big deal. I was going to line work it and make it look nice and just have it more as a refined work in progress type sketch thing. But the more I worked on it, the more I wanted to work on it. And as I was getting more of her hair lined out and I was looking at it, I was really liking it. I was liking her and I was liking the effect, and it was starting to get ideas of how I can like finish it off as an actual illustration. So that was really exciting, and luckily I was working on a really big file. This one was a 10 by 14, I believe, so she was on almost half of it, so I actually ended up just cropping it down to 8.5 by 11 or 8.5 by 10. Yeah, one of those. So I just cropped it down, which is perfect, because that's always frustrating when I start working on something smaller and then I decide that I want to do more with it, but it's too small to be able to just make bigger. But this one I had luckily started out much larger, and that was really exciting. So I was able to just dive in really organically into the sketch, and suddenly it was becoming a finished illustration, which is exactly what I was going out to try and do. So that was a good reminder, because this is how I think I used to work a lot more when it came to doing illustrations. And I don't know when it kind of changed. I think it maybe have changed during school when there was very specific deadlines, but I remember there being a time when I would sketch and sketch and sketch, and then there would be that one great idea and I loved it and I would put it into a more final form. Or when I was feeling like I wanted to finish up a piece, I would look through my sketchbook, find something, and then finish that up. And lately I've been very like separated in the way that I do my sketching and my finished pieces. I will sit down with the intention of doing a finished piece, and I'll sit down and do my sketches, and usually I'm really lazy and sloppy with my sketches because I don't see that connection anymore. So basically I'm glad that I was able to have this experience to remind myself that this really is how I prefer to get my ideas. This is the way that feels the most natural to me, and it definitely brings the most cohesion into the way that I want to present my style, because it's more connected with my everyday drawing. So yeah, in the end I was really, really happy that I was able to come to a finished piece in the way that I did, because it was a good learning experience for me. And as I was working on the sketch for this one, I realized, while it was after the decision that I wanted to finish this up as a final thing, I was looking at the sketch and I realized that I was still drawing her clothes the same way, and there was a few things that were just too like exact. I wasn't putting my own spin on it, and it wasn't taking on its own life from it. And so I made the very specific decision to do a different set of clothing, and that is one of the best ways of taking inspiration photographs and reference photographs and making sure that it is your own, is look for all the details that you can put your own spin on it or replace with other inspirations. Because this one, if you've looked at the reference, she's wearing just kind of this like white sundress type looking thing, and it's really not even my style necessarily. It's not something that I would look at reference for to draw into my pieces. So I was kind of just blindly including that because it was in the reference, but that's obviously not the direction I want to go. That is one thing that you absolutely need to strive for when you're doing any sort of like finished work at all and you're using references. You want to make sure that you are going far enough beyond the reference so that it is your work and it's not like this nice little perfect copy of it. So as I was looking at that, I realized that was an element that I hadn't even like second thought about. So I decided that I wanted to do a really like dark drippy dress, and I kind of had a few ideas as I was working on this dress and the shape that it had. I was thinking a little bit about those like ink blot tests and lava lamps, and I looked up some of those references so I could get a little bit of the like shape and the way it broke off. And I actually ended up spending a lot more time fiddling away with the actual shape of the dress than I should have. One of the most important things that I notice when I'm doing elements like that, or really any line work, is when I zoom in and I work on a little focused area and then I zoom out and it no longer works with the entire shape of it. So this one I was getting in really close and working on these little like pieces that were breaking off and these really minute shapes, but then when I zoomed out, the overall shape was just not pleasant anymore. So that was something that I had to rework a little bit and zoom out and work on it from a more full size and see exactly what I was putting down and the shape that it was creating, and then I could go back in and add the little details that I wanted to. But I've got to say, I think my absolute favorite part about this piece were her eyes, which is really happy because that's one thing that I'm still kind of struggling with as far as where I want to go with my style. I haven't really found a way that I like showing the iris and the pupils yet. It really does change depending on the illustration, but I don't really feel like I have one way that I like yet, and I definitely don't want it to be like perfectly circular and perfectly realistic size. I want to be able to push the eyes so that they do have an emotion to it and something that feels a little bit creepier or more ethereal depending on what I want it to be. So I've tried a lot of different things. I've tried things that are more ovular, so narrower. I've tried different pupils, but this one is a type of pupil that I do every once in a while and is definitely my favorite, where it's just like a slit in her eyes. And that one is my favorite one to do, but I like that she had these like really blown out irises, so I think I'll definitely use that a lot more, where she has really, really tiny pupils and really huge irises. But that is pretty much it for today's video. It started off as a sketch and then it turned into what I actually wanted it to be. I just feel really good about the process that took me in, because it did remind me what I need to do to create the best artwork that I can and how to enjoy it the most. And that's something that I've lost a little bit along the way, and this one reminded me of that. So it was really great. I loved working on it. But since it is a print and it is for convention, I will have them available right now. So if you want to have this artwork for your very own, there is a link right in the corner of the video. There's also one down in the description, and if you're curious anything that I use to create my digital artwork, that is all in the description as well. And oh, and yes, I am working on getting a very concrete schedule as far as when I upload and what I upload, and my live streaming schedule, which I'm super excited about. So that will be coming up very soon, I promise. I'm actively working on getting everything sorted out and figured out and everything. But whew, that is it for today, like I mentioned. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in 2 days.